Russia postpones nuclear arms control negotiations with the U.S. Russia has unilaterally postponed nuclear arms control negotiations with the U.S. that were to be held in Cairo this week. This is, of course, according to a State Department spokesperson on Monday, and it says the talks were to begin on Tuesday in the Egyptian capital with the focus on resuming annual inspection as is required under the new Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, or New START, the last major arms control treaty between the two nuclear powers. Now, if you go back throughout history, you'll see that, of course, there were a ton of times when Russia and the U.S. were at very, very tense times. New START, of course, was birthed, and it was something that made everybody feel all nice and fuzzy. That is not going to be resuming. Apparently, according to this, it says the U.S. and Russia mutually agreed to suspend the inspections in March of 2020 at the start of the demic in response to Washington's support of UKR after Russia invaded in February. Moscow suspended the inspections in August. It says a State Department spokesperson said that Russia had postponed the latest series of meetings and stated that it would propose new dates. The United States, and this is a quote, is ready to reschedule at the earliest possible date as resuming inspections is a priority for sustaining the treaty as an instrument of stability. Why is this important? Well, obviously, MAD and mutually assured destruction and everything else, they say, has stopped an all-out nuclear conflict, because if one country, launches all of its nukes and the other launches all of its nukes, then the world would be a desolate wasteland. Of course, the treaties and the things that they have had in the past have tried to reduce or to try to basically have everybody on an equal, playing field and make sure that nobody's doing anything shady. Of course, they still hide things, but this is not a good sign for anyone. So we're going to talk about this and much more tonight on tonight's episode of Marfoogle News. We have a ton in store. Apple versus Elon, and they're saying a revolution with those words being waged right now. So we'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It's Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. I'm glad to see everybody popping in. Just to say hello to the chat real quick. Thank you, everybody that has made it so far. Looks like over on DLive T308, Vicky K, thank you for your nightly stop-in. Beer Juice and Kimbria, hope everyone had a great day. It's my birthday. Well, happy birthday, Kimbria, and it is nice to see you are spending it with us. And then, of course, Celtic Warriors in the house, my mother Spark, Crypto Rick, just in time, Dominic Delete Spiatto, if I said that right, Woodlander, Mark Roberts, what is going on? Hello. And then Blowtorch Barbie, we have Vic, Big Fish, and of course, Life is Better on Stilts. It's nice to see you here. I hope you're doing better, and a lot of people were praying for you, and I'm glad to see you in the chat tonight. Trinity Red or Blue Pill, hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here. That reminds me, she did do a premiere earlier today, which I tweeted out. And then also the Lifeboat did a live show just a few hours ago. So if you want to go check them out, that is also linked over on my Twitter. Now, if you've never been here before, there is a lot that's going to be talked about. There's a lot of articles that are going to be shown. We always do a bibliography before every single show. Over on marfooglenews.com, not only can you sign up for our email list and alerts, in fact, you can get notifications directly from us. You can go to marfooglenews.com and then subscribe to our notifications. That's a simple way for us to send you a direct notification the second we press live. So make sure to sign up for that. And then over there, there's a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to be showing you here today. That way you have access to every piece of information that we're sharing. Obviously, a lot of contradiction in mainstream media. We're going to be pulling together all of the mainstream media from the last weekend and from what is going on tonight. And then, of course, talking about it, questioning it, which is most importantly the thing we do here. And then, of course, we're going to share it out with you. So, when you go to our website, you'll find it's very easy to navigate by thumbnail. Apple versus Elon. He calls it a revolution. And then, of course, once you click on that, it will bring you to every single article, tweet, video, picture, document, including anything that is added by Foogle Fam. You guys are part of this. This is a live show. So if there is something that is breaking during the show and Foogle Fam bring that into the chat, we end up adding that to the website live before the end of the show. Tonight is going to be jam-packed full of stuff, including everything that's going on with Vlad and UKR and everything else. And of course, right now in the I country, in the Middle East and everything else. Let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle Fam. I am doing just fine.
Well, it is, we're going to be talking about I said this last time that it had all this stuff going on. Mauna Loa. I think that's how you say it. That is the world's largest active volcano on Hawaii has erupted. Obviously, if you watch Dutch Sense or others that follow, any kind of earth movement or earthquakes or volcanoes, then you probably already know about this. It says that the world's largest active volcano on Hawaii has erupted for the first time in 38 years, triggering more than a dozen earthquakes, including one measuring at a 4.2 magnitude. Hawaii's Mauna Loa, the world's largest active volcano, has erupted, the USGS says, and it says that the eruption began in the summit caldera of Mauna Loa on Sunday night, according to notifications from the USGS. It says at this time, lava flows are contained within the summit area and are not threatening downslope communities, the notification said. It said, however, the notification warned based on previous events that the early eruption stages of this volcano can be very dynamic and the location and advance of lava flows can change rapidly. And the volcano alert was later upgraded from an advisory to a warning. Now, I actually live, like many others, within close distance of a volcano. But it's pretty scary when you have one that hasn't gone off in nearly 4 decades start to erupt. This is pretty freaky. Of course, Hawaii had the other earthquake. Wait. So this is different from what was the other one called? And off the top of my head, it was the other volcano that caused all the problems was it Kauai or no? What was the other volcano that went off a couple of years ago on Hawaii? This is the one that we've been watching, right? Did I mute you?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm trying to look it up.
I feel like it's somebody in chat will. Let's see here.
Is it Kilauea?
Kilauea. So this is a bigger volcano in size. This is much, much bigger than Kilauea. And when Kilauea erupted, of course, the world watched all the scenes of lava flow through, little villages and through houses and streets, being crossed by lava. And it was pretty freaky. This one has the capability of being much, much bigger. As they say, this is the world's largest active volcano. So I don't know what other, there's a lot of stuff being talked about regarding this, but it does say that it erupted. The world's largest active volcano sparks urgent warning from Hawaii after lava spews from the crater. So if you've seen some of the video of this, it's pretty amazing. It says the flare-up comes after it reportedly had been in a state of heightened arrest since September. Remember, we actually covered when they first started having signs. Somebody actually predicted, one of the scientists said that they thought it was going to go and told local villagers that they should be prepared. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you can go back to the picture right above there, that's sort of the scene, so to speak, for everybody in that area. Like they've got this entire ash kind of cloud or ash in the air that's making everything just real dark and dreary. So that's and you may have experience with this from the past with volcanoes in your area, but this is probably new to a lot of people. Maybe not on Hawaii because they have these and they've experienced this before, but it's kind of a creepy feeling to have everything just sort of blacked out and faded out like this with this cloud over you.
Well, I've experienced with the smoke, and the smoke was so bad that the visibility, I mean, at one point it was almost like nighttime. You could look at the sun and you could see, I mean, you could literally see designs on the sun. It was the freakiest. When we had the smoke that was so bad the one year that it was like, and by the way, I'm not even talking about recently when we had the worst air in Washington of the whole world. I'm talking like a few years back. It was even worse, and there was tons of videos of how everything was like this orange color. It was very freaky, and you could see things on the sun you normally couldn't. You could actually see lines and weird things going on with the sun because it blocked most of the light. But I've never experienced, and I wasn't born yet for Mount St. Helens. My mother, rest in peace, and my father were in Yakima when Mount St. Helens went off, and they have pictures of the whole house covered in an inch of ash, and ash covered everything. It's a very scary natural disaster, and it's of course something that is straight out of like an end of the world movie. Of course, most people have seen the Pierce Brosnan end of the world movies about volcanoes and things, but this is real life. And for the people in Hawaii, which I still have extended family out there, and my sister was there for a long time, it's very scary as far as if this thing goes off. I wonder though if this thing has a full-blown world's largest blow up. Could chunks of land end up causing tsunamis and things like that? I know that was a concern with Kilauea, but is that so much of a concern with this one? And so yeah, if you are there and if you have video footage of it, make sure to go upload it to YouTube and then go to marfooglenews.com/playmyvideo. When you go over there, you'll be able to upload your video, and we can even show it live. If you're from Hawaii, like Justin True or any of the many awesome people there, make sure to upload your footage and let us show it on the show. And then water boil order issued for more than 2 million in Houston. So everybody has talked about Flint, Michigan. Now Houston needs to boil their water before they drink it. It says more than 2 million people in the Houston area were under a boil order notice Monday after a power outage caused low pressure at the water purification plant. It said that the order, which means water must be boiled before it's used for cooking, bathing, or drinking, so you can't even take a shower, it's that gross, also prompted school in the Houston area to close on Monday. It was issued Sunday after a power outage at a water purification plant, the city's public works department said. So the water that's coming out at you is not being purified by, and that water that's coming out of your sink and out of your shower is basically the same water that you flush down. And if those purification plants aren't rolling, you basically are covering yourself in uka. I think that's what Hawaii says for poo-poo. It says Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner said on Twitter that the city believes that the water is safe, but a boil order is required because of the drop in water pressure. He said water sampling would begin Monday morning, and the boil order could be lifted 24 hours after the city is notified the water is safe. I know that many people do not trust when they talk. If there's anything wrong with water, they, of course, by they, I mean the government has, kind of swept things under the rug multiple times, and same with big companies. Of course, Aaron Brockovich and things like this and stories like that have happened many times where big companies have covered up dangerous things because they don't want people to know that, something happened or something leaked into it. We've also seen water being threatened. One thing is most of the community here, we, either try to drink purified water or we don't drink sink water anymore. If you are lucky to live on like a spring or a well that has really clean water, you're one of the lucky few. At this point, if you live in a big city and you have water, most people don't trust it because of all the things that are already put in it that we know they put in it, like fluoride and all sorts of other stuff, contaminants. Now, as far as even like purifying water, most people don't realize, if things did get bad, if we did have an SHTF situation, this would definitely be something that you should pay attention to because water would stop. That's why they say in an EMP, 90% of people would perish is because we wouldn't have drinkable, potable water. So that's one thing to keep in your mind and remind people that aren't familiar with prepping why people end up, getting purification systems and things like that. And then we have freight rail strike could jeopardize fuel supplies nationwide, business groups say. Dex, so this is, we've covered all of the different steps of this possible rail strike. Most people said it was a nothing burger in the first place, and then it did get fixed temporarily. They kind of put a Band-Aid on it, but now it kept moving forward. Do you think that this is actually something to worry about, or what do you think?
Well, what we're hearing is everybody's coming out now with their different scenario of what would happen if the rail strike goes through. It is sort of unlikely, but it is not impossible. So they can actually strike. They have the power to do it. But the president and Congress has the power to do things to sort of put them back into production, so to speak. So there's workarounds, there's ways to resolve it, and that's what they did last time. They delayed the date and pushed it back to December 9th, but December 9th is just around the corner. So, and what was written in this article and specifically from this organization was they were trying to represent the gas station owners across across America, and basically explaining that if the freight rail does shut down, then they will have an inability to actually keep fuel in supply because I guess a certain amount of it must go over that the freight lines. I don't know if that's the case everywhere, but I know like where I live, there's a pipeline that pumps it here and then they truck it around, but I'm sure there's still a lot that's moving on rail. And I'm sure there's a whole lot of things that we just don't think about that if the rails shut down would have a ripple effect, whether it's, the toilets in New York, which we talked about last week, or now gas and being able to keep gas at the pumps, or, what's next? Like, is it the coal that's being shipped around to keep, power plants running? There's all sorts of things and natural resources that get shipped around on rail cars that will cause factories to shut down, other types of production to shut down, and probably affect a lot of our daily lives. It's not going to be a pretty thing if it does happen.
Yeah, and in New York alone, they said that by train, they take out 2.4 million tons of essentially poo out of New York. So if the trains stop, then that does too. People on New York will be living in some messy, messy conditions. On top of that, though, with all of this, if you do work for the railroads, if you are a part of this and you have some inside scoop, please let us know. Email us, or again, send us information. DM me on Twitter, or send us video if you have inside info on what is going on with this, because it would be great to have some insider information not coming from mainstream. They talk about a lot of the what ifs of if this would happen. I believe that this is not, this out of many things is, something bad that could happen. But at the same time, many times they, kind of hype it up for nothing when I guess it's hard to even think of, without some sort of major disaster, our entire rail system stopping for any reason. I bet if it did, it wouldn't last long. They would probably cave in and do whatever they wanted. So who knows? If you do work for the railroads, you're probably rooting for it, saying, hey, 3 hours and they'll probably, fix it and turn it back on or do whatever they ask. But I don't know. Thank you, by the way. I think I missed you last show. Funky Blue, I appreciate your support last show. Zenwen AZ, Stephen McMahon, LAPD SWAT, Mystery School. Ilea even popped in last night, or the last show. Kanye in the 70s show, Smoke Circle. I believe I missed that, so thank you. And then Craig Alicious, Bandy Bear, lovely Foogle fan members, Watcher 7872, Machina Opus, awesome people here. Again, thank you, last show, Be Real Beast, and the Luttrell Group LLC, Nana of Montana, and everybody else. Heath Spear says, thanks always in my prayers for the Foogle family. Thank you from Australia. Thank you. I appreciate that. And thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting Independent. And thank you, by the way, thank you everybody that's been praying for my family. I appreciate you guys, and thank you very much. And it really does mean a lot to me that a lot of people have been praying. I appreciate it. And then before we talk about Musk, I do want to remind you, if you haven't already, this is something I truly believe in. I don't have the X2, the Kodiak X2, and I want one. Of course, I'm in the same boat as many of you. I would love to get it. I already have the Energy Flex 1500. I have the flagship system, but there are pros and cons to all of these systems. The flagship system, the Energy Flex 1500, it's modular, so you can actually add as many batteries as you want. Essentially, you can expand it up to 96 batteries. That would basically be a giant wall of batteries the size of, an average size house wall. But if you just wanted to roll with one battery, you can with this system. But the downside of anything lithium right now is that countries and world powers are fighting over lithium. Obviously, our future, they're saying that lithium is going to be everything. All the cars are going to be switched over to electric. Everything else that's going on is making lithium extremely hard to come by. And it is in low supply and in high demand. Why people are going for solar generators like the Kodiak X2. The Kodiak X2 is actually all built in. It's the battery is built in. You can plug and play. If you have solar panels, you just plug it right in and you have power, coming in from the sun. What's great about that is it then holds the power and gets you through that night. And then the next morning, you get more power coming in. It's also silent. All of the energy products that I have reviewed, all three of the main ones, they all are silent. And that is awesome because if you have a loud generator running, which again, gas-powered generators have their pros too, but one, they take gas, which is now $5 a gallon. Two, it's hard to store gas like that. And three, they are extremely loud. Even the quiet ones that are muffled are still, audible from a block away. So that is not something you would want during an SHTF situation or even a really bad disaster, like if you had a Hurricane Katrina where the, actual martial law was declared. You don't want to be the one that people are hearing from 3 blocks away with power when no one else has it. So this is great for that reason, and it's a clean way to have your power. And again, it comes from the sun. And this one is cool, the Flex 1500. But if you want something built in and if you want it right away, they are shipping these out now. Basically, all throughout December, they're going to be shipping these out. So make sure to go check it out. Kodiak X2. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY. You're going to get a savings. You're going to get up to $170 off on certain packages, and you're going to help our small show here. Again, we are controversial. We cover controversial topics, so we are not treated the same as, say a camera review channel. Most of the subjects, even one word will make it so it's not suitable for all advertisers. Even if we do get some advertisement, it's usually the penny advertisement. So thank you guys for helping. Again, marfooglenews.com/energy. We appreciate all the support. marfooglenews.com/energy. Use the code Marfoogle for that savings. All right. And then, so this is something that if you actually look at what is being said on Twitter right now, it's a pretty big deal. Even if you are, rocky about how you feel about Elon Musk, if you look at what is happening, it's pretty nuts. It may be a setup for the X app and for the X phone or whatever, the social credit score system, but it also could be something pretty big. It says Musk says that Apple stopped Twitter ads, threatened to withhold it from the App Store. Now, they talked about this last week, and this would be huge if Apple and potentially Google pull them off of the App Store. Twitter would be extremely hard to get. It would basically kill Twitter because that is where 99.9% of people end up getting their apps unless they go on a web-based browser and grab it and download it like old school and open up an exe or something on their computer. It makes it a whole lot harder to get your app out or download it from your phone on a website. Dex, this is a big deal also because he is basically declaring through memes and through his comments, he's saying that he's going to war with Apple, right?
Yeah, he's come out with a handful of tweets today targeted directly at Apple. It started off with him saying that they pulled most of their advertising out, and then he later clarified that they said they were threatening to remove them from the App Store, but didn't give a reason as to why. And then he went on a big tirade with a lot of different tweets about how they should support free speech, they being Apple. And how he talked about the Apple tax, which is something like 30% after you reach 1 million in the App Store. Apple takes 30% of the revenue that you generate. And to put that in perspective, I think just the sign-up day alone for Twitter Blue, they would be on track just for the people that signed up that initial day, the first few hours, something like 13 million a year in revenue. So that would be like 4 million a year to Apple. But they want to pull the plug on this. So, and I know it's a lot more money than that, because it's not just 4 million they're talking about. They're talking about a lot, because there's so many people that use Twitter, and they all use it from an app, and they can all eventually generate some form of revenue towards both Google and Apple. By the way, this is not just an Apple thing. While he's talking to Apple, because they're in the limelight, they're the ones speaking to him, all the fundamentals hold true on the Play Store as well, because we've seen this happen with other apps when they threaten to take one down or deplatform them. That's what they do. They remove them from both platforms, and then the apps no longer are viable, because if it's not an app on the phone, you don't have the same capabilities that you have, because it just defaults to being in the web. And then people don't think to go to a website to just start interacting with everyone on Twitter. So it's the big deal. I think we talked a little bit about this last week when the first rumors were floating around that they may be poking at him. We said that Elon had suggested if he had to, he would make his own phone to compete with both Google and Apple. But today he is really going hard and heavy against Apple. And he's also saying that he's going to release some information too. And I think you've got that right on the screen, Adam.
Yeah, it says the Twitter files on free speech suppression soon to be published on Twitter itself. The public deserves to know what really happened. This is why this matters. And, you guys have heard me over the last 6 months. You kind of get tired of the Elon stuff, but this is giant. For anybody in my shoes or a creator that has, obviously had some holdbacks. I mean, my Twitter has been at 30,000 5 or 6 times, and then in one day it would get taken down to 19,000. I lost basically 30% of the people that had clicked on my name and followed me, and they said, oh, that's a lot of bots. But then I had message after message after message, people saying, hey, I don't see you anymore, I got unfollowed and all this. And we've heard it from every creator, even in stupid niches where they're doing reaction videos of cat videos. It doesn't matter what it is. That people had this big loss in every social media, and there were certain days where you would notice that only certain creators had it, right? Everybody just got knocked down, and they said it was cleaning out the media, whatever. But again, 5 times I've reached 30,000, and it's like on times like this, what happened there? And he's saying he's about to bring out what the old Twitter, what they did. So he's going to get all of the information. This could start a literal revolution. If they were doing things that were just beyond absolutely messed up, and maybe that's why he's saying this, then that everybody is going to be up in arms. He could put out there that they all work together to take this person, that person, and we all know that, a lot of this is true. But again, for him to put out proof of this, if he puts out, depending on what he puts out, it could be very, very big. It could be gigantic. On Twitter, he ended up going over, and we'll go over, Dex, you kind of put together this weird thing that he posted on his bedside. But him talking about this 30%, it's like they're on any app that goes over 1 million, they end up putting a huge 30% tax on everything that's going through it. Apple's just messed up. And Dex, you've always been an Apple fan. Do you want to explain what the Diet Coke, guns, and American Revolutionary War painting? Why does this fit into all of this?
Well, yeah. So he tweeted, "This is my bedside table," and this is allegedly a picture of his bedside table. Aside from the four empty cans of caffeine-free Diet Coke and the enormous number of circle rings on the counter there, from obviously he drinks a ton, and I'm assuming it's when he goes to bed. He must be a slob because he doesn't clean up unless he drinks four every night before he goes to bed. But there's a lot of talk about the relic weapon that's in the box there. That's and the first president that's depicted in there. That's a famous picture. It's been seen in lots of other places. They obviously the big weapon on the counter, but that is don't kid yourselves. For those of you that know, you'll look at it quickly and go, yeah, that's not real. Because there's no trigger and the actual revolver part is a little odd. It's supposed to be a replica of a weapon from a game, I think, or something. I don't know. I don't know the game stuff. There is something about the item in the bottom left corner, but I don't remember what it is. And then the books on the back, specifically, which you can't really see. It's really hidden because there's a bottle in the way, but it is the Books of the American Wisdom. It's a box set. Written by George Washington and Jefferson, I think, and it also includes the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence as 4 volumes in a small little sleeve. So that's what's on his nightstand, allegedly, if this isn't a staged photo. But that's what he put out, my bedside table.
Yeah, it's most definitely weird, to say the least. And it has the two, the fake boom boom, and then of course the real one. So with the revolution comment too, he then later says that there's going to be, basically that this is like some sort of revolution. I was just cleaning my desk a little bit. That's all. But yeah, what a slob. Look at all those Diet Cokes. And if you look, I'll pull it up again too. Look at what people are in masses. Millions of people are just pissed off and going nuts right now. On top of that, just another motion. We follow what's going on Twitter, because Twitter ends up, whatever they say over on Twitter, they have used that as kind of like what the general thinking, or they have passed laws based on hashtags that went viral. And in their eyes, again, viral on Twitter could be like, 10,000 tweets. It's like 10,000 people, right? Timcast has been, trending for like 3 days or 2 days, and he has 60,000 tweets. 60,000 out of 8 billion people. 60,000 tweets are what, is making it being talked about. Well, there's even less on some of these hashtags that the politicians put out. And then they have, potentially bots or fake people go to those hashtags and then popularize them or talk about them. And you have a couple celebrities go, oh, hashtag, take the boom booms away or something. And then all of a sudden that everybody thinks, oh, this is what everybody cares about. Everybody talks about it. It's not. And that's what it has been used for. And in other countries, Twitter is far more important and far more powerful. In countries like Saudi Arabia, 8 out of 10 people are on Twitter, where in America, it's 3 out of 10 people. That's a low percentage of the almost 400 million people that are here. Less than 100 million are on this platform, and they're deciding what the heck is going on by, frankly, the minority of what people are thinking. Even if those minority of people, they're not the ones tweeting this stuff out, it's worldwide, and it's a whole lot less than that. So what is happening right now is, if this does get taken off, this is going to start all sorts of different fights. Right now, demonic and Satan and all sorts of other things are trending. On the side, you can go over to my Twitter at Marfoogle. Make sure to follow. I've been tweeting out a lot of the stuff that is, trending right now, like Disney movies putting "I love you, Satan" on them. The whole Balenciaga thing is just absolutely disgusting. If you haven't seen that, I in fact responded to somebody. They said, "Oh, well, I'm." Now I have a reason not to buy Balenciaga. I'm glad I never did. It's like, you needed a reason not to buy $800 shoes? How about the fact that they're $800 shoes? It's stupid. No offense. I don't think we have anybody here that has Balenciaga shoes, but if you do, no offense, but it's pretty stupid. And I come from Seattle, home of Macklemore and like thrift shops. And honestly, a lot of us here, we get stuff from thrift shops. Like, I think it's, we made it cool before it was cool to buy, secondary clothes. I always thought it was stupid. People were paying when Affliction and Ed Hardy. Do you guys remember the few years that everybody had those $110 t-shirts that had like, okay, we're moving. What's going on here? Can you hear me? Okay. Hello? 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 Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? All right, Dex, can you hear me?
Hey, I'm here. Adam, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, but it still says it's dropping. So it is live.
I've heard your sound checks coming through live.
Okay, so I'm going to go back. Well, the show must go on, kind of just let's keep trucking through it. I think it's just because computer's getting really old. All right, let's see if this works. Sorry, Dex. Let's see. All right. Do we have you guys? Can you let us know in chat if everything is returned to normal? This is one of the problems with being live, so I appreciate everybody being patient. And we may edit this and try to cut this out and
yes, I can hear
re-upload.
Live, Adam, we're good.
Okay, so let me clear that. Okay. All right. Where were we? All right. The world's first hydrogen-powered jet engine seeks turning point for aviation industry. So the first of its kind engine could prove a significant milestone in the development of eco-friendly fuel for the aviation industry. In a press release, Rolls-Royce said it had tested an early concept engine using hydrogen from wind and tidal power. The test was performed in collaboration with the British low-cost air carrier EasyJet, and officials said that the hydrogen engine was key proof point in the decarbonization strategies of both companies. It said the second round of tests on the engine is currently being planned. Rolls-Royce and EasyJet have set out to prove that hydrogen can safely and efficiently deliver power for several aero engines that are already planning a second set of tests, with longer-term ambition to carry out flight tests. The press release, it said that while Rolls-Royce is best known for its luxury cars, the company's aerospace division has become an industry leader in aircraft engines. Rolls-Royce engines can be found on numerous models of Boeing and Airbus planes, and it says, according to the company, they have logged more than 100 million flyer hours. So one thing is hydrogen, water, or apparently wind. They have had ideas like this come out. I talked about it a couple weeks ago, how there was a gentleman who created a car that was completely powered by water, and it was very strange. He ended up showing it to the world, and right after, he ended up perishing, right? He ended up passing, and within a couple days of him passing, that car that he brought to the show that ran completely on water and could drive everywhere on water disappeared, and no one ever found out where it went. It was like, people thought maybe the oil industry or someone else, stepped into place and said, we're not having it. So very odd. I wonder, now this is the big push again to try to have an alternative fuel. Dex, what do you think about Rolls-Royce and the hydrogen engine?
Well, if it's cheaper and requires no oil, I speculate it won't be around. It won't be out very soon. There's still a lot of oil out there they want to use. So, but at the same time, it also goes hand in hand with a lot of the initiatives they're doing. It would be fascinating to see advanced technology that we know exists. We just know hasn't been put into production. That would allow this type of stuff, whether it's hydrogen powered fuel cells or whatever technology they've got. We know there are certainly capabilities out there that are probably even better than what we have with gas powered, and probably better than what we have with electric powered, that can sustain some form of motion in these engines that might be a lot better than what we're doing. But they haven't been brought to market yet for various reasons. We can all speculate as to why.
Nicole said it's the same thing somewhere else. She said that came up with something like that, and he's gone. Yeah, there's big money in oil and in the industry, and there's been a lot of people that have mysteriously disappeared that are now probably cold cases because they invented something that would mess up the entire planet's kind of system, which is messed up. If you think about it, if there has been a way for decades, and again, companies like Honda and others actually did a hydrogen-powered car, but it wasn't like, you just put a glass of water in it or something. It was a fuel based on it. I believe what the gentleman made was literally something you could put like water in, and the thing could just go, and it could drive like a normal car. I believe that's what it is, but correct me if I'm wrong. But, when that happens, it was more expensive than a normal car, and it was way before its time, I guess you could say, and they didn't do well. They only sold for like 1 year, and then they stopped it. I think they tried it again. There's been many, cars that have tried different fuels and then biofuels. There's, of course, cars that have done that. There's conversion kits. There's all sorts of stuff. But then you get to the point where, well, if I need more fuel for my car, I've got to drive 200 miles to the next station in some places in America. So it's kind of like how in the beginning of electric cars, you had to find a charging station, and there wasn't that many in the beginning. So you kind of had to plan out your route based on where you could charge your car. I don't know. I think that I don't think that this is going to happen overnight, and I think that they are going to do, unless there's a way to charge you on water and wind, then they're probably going to say something is wrong with it, or some sort of big error. And then from the Middle East, Iranian general acknowledged over 300 perished in ongoing unrest. Out of the United Arab Emirates, an Iranian general on Monday acknowledged that more than 300 people have been perished forcefully in the unrest surrounding nationwide protests, giving the first official words on casualties in 2 months. It says that estimate is considerably lower than the toll reported by human rights activists in a U.S.-based group that has been closely tracking the protests since they erupted on September 16th after the perishing of a young woman being held by the country's morality police. Not thought police like we have here, but they have morality police. It says the activist group says that 451 protesters and 60 security forces have perished and since the start of the unrest, and that more than 18,000 people have been detained. The protests were sparked by of course, the unfortunate loss of a 22-year-old Masa. What in the world? Okay. I think I figured it out. All right. And then the protests were sparked by her passing. They quickly escalated into calls to overthrow the theocracy and pose one of the most serious challenges to the ruling clerics since the 1979 revolution that brought them to power. So one thing you're noticing all over the world is there's a lot of protests. In fact, we're going to talk about it later. China, huge protests and weird stuff going on there. There's actually video of drones releasing some sort of stuff in the air from drones, like lines of drones releasing stuff into the air. Basically, it sounds like, and we've heard this from Fugel family members that have family members in China, that people are done with what they're doing there. And we'll talk about it later, but the country itself, their government, has flooded the internet with opposing views of what is happening. So we'll talk about that here in a minute. But you're seeing a ton of protests around the world, and it is kind of a big picture thing. You're seeing that everybody is pissed off. Everybody is tired from being stomped on since 2019, just tired of all this BS that they've put us through. People lost their businesses. I cannot tell you how many people lost their business just in my close personal circle of people I know that lost their small businesses because of 2019, from hairstylists to, hardware store owners, to people that had their own businesses, DJing and things like this. They're all just done. It has taken everything from us, and it's really horrible to think that every country is going through the same stuff. Now, in this case, they're protesting over, obviously, a whole different subject, but I think it's because a lot of these things are happening because of how people were treated for the last 3 years, and people are just ready to snap, and that is worldwide. It's not it's not just one thing. Sorry, oh my gosh, my sound just blasted me, so I apologize if that blasted you guys too. Oh man, something is going on. I feel like I need to talk to Wages and see if there's any solar activity. Because what was weird is when we did go, the show went out, it was the soundboard and the beat machine and my looper all went on the fritz, like we had some sort of power surge. That was weird. Dex, do you want to talk about the niece of the Supreme Leader?
Well, along the same lines, I think we said in one of our overflows last week that the soccer team had taken did something. I'm going to say they didn't sing the national anthem or something. So there's all of this protest, especially from outside the country, which is a lot easier to do than inside. It's harder for them on the inside. But this is the niece of the supreme leader there, and she is calling for countries and governments to actually cut ties. So she's coming out, speaking out against the regime, so to speak, and saying that, the Ayatollah and whatnot, that they're doing bad things and that we don't need to have any of the countries around that work with them to actually acknowledge them. They need to be cut off because they want a revolution, so to speak. And that's what we're seeing from the protesters, but it's also what we're seeing, obviously from, she's not a leader, but she's, a close family member. And obviously her statements were enough to get picked up and run across multiple media outlets today on a global level. So.
And on a global level, it's happening everywhere as far as we pay attention to what's going on in the Middle East because it's a flashpoint, but also since, everybody focused on Vlad and UKR and everything else, people have taken their eyes off of other areas, especially the areas that we were, of course, involved with for 20 years and all sorts of different things going on, and it just ends like that. Seems like, people have forgot that this is a huge, huge flashpoint. Especially if they're teamed up with Vlad and NK and China and everybody else. And then we're going to talk about Kim Jong-un's daughter. The weirdest things are going on over there too. So it seems like something is being set up like a almost like it's in some sort of science fiction movie or something. Real quick, I do want to remind you, if you haven't already, make sure to go over and check out marfooglenews.com/prep. Obviously, we are a small independent show. We have all sorts of things happen. It's a live show. To keep this running 5 nights a week, we have gone through all sorts of different calamities. So if you do want to support us being independent and on our own, we don't have a backup. We don't have a network. We don't have a multi-channel network that backs us up or saves us. We have the Foogle fam. If you do want to do that and protect yourself at the same time, you can go over to marfooglenews.com/prep and not only get survival gear, but you can also get long-term survival food. One of their biggest things is that they have all kinds of packages from a single MRE all the way up to their biggest sale yet on their 3-month, $250 off on a 3-month supply of freeze-dried foods, something that will keep you living through the worst of disasters. Now, everybody thinks of this for like the end of the world. You don't have to. In fact, food like this may be good in a couple years when some sort of inflation event happens or a local event like a storm that hits you hard and obviously the town or city you're in is, separated from the rest of the country or something. Any kind of thing, including earthquakes, this is a good thing to have around. As far as their 2-week and above, I believe, are in buckets. I have a 1 month and I have a 3 month and I have another 3 month that is in a different package. All of them usually come in some sort of protective packaging. So then as far as the buckets, you can do whatever you wish and store them however you like. They come just like that. So if you do want to get one of these, it does basically check something off the list. If you're saying like, hey, I want 6 months of food for all of us, you get 2 of these for each person and you're good. And you have what's recommended. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep for $250 off on this. And again, you'll also help us at the same time. All of our affiliates are companies that we believe in or we believe that is something personally, from our opinion, will either help you, save you, or make your life better through a disaster. So again, make sure to go check it out. All right, and then Kim has talked about his daughter for the first time. Last week we talked about this. This is really weird because he has never mentioned this daughter before. And some think that Kim Jong-un is mentioning his daughter because he's priming her to take over. There's been a lot of weird events with Kim Jong-un as far as like when he got that brain surgery, people thought he was dead. People thought that he had a heart attack. People thought that he was, he perished on the operating table. And maybe he is sick. People have thought that he was replaced by some sort of doppelganger. And that was when his sister stepped in and did a lot more talking. But now out of nowhere, and this is what I mean, it just gives me this weird vibe about, and I know that sounds lame, but it's giving me a weird vibe about why he's introducing his daughter. Like something grandiose is going to happen. It kind of reminds me of the show, the Man on the High Castle, or Man in the High Castle, how the visually and how, they look at their country. It says North Korea's leader has been taking his daughter to a meeting with missile scientists in her second public appearance, in which state media call her Kim Jong-un's most beloved child, deepening outside the debate whether she is being primed as his successor. The daughter, believed to be Kim's second child, named Zhu Ah-yi, and is about 9 or 10 years old, was first unveiled to the outside world last weekend in a state media photo showing her observing the North's intercontinental ballistic missile launch. No joke. There was a picture of them like walking like a family in front of like a Satan missile or whatever their version is. And that's when I said that it was like so romantic, like it was weird. And now it sounds like she's going to be a part of this or something. I don't know. Dex, go ahead.
And Adam, I've got 3 of the most recent photos that come from this photo shoot they're talking about, where it is blatant. It's not just like the last one we showed; it just looked like a father-daughter moment, and they happen to be walking
in front of a missile,
in the distance. Yeah, in front of a missile. But these, she's being paraded. And I think there's 3 different pictures I put in there. There's a handful more. So if you guys want to see them all, they're on the article. If you go to our website, you can click over to the article and then look at the pictures they have there. But here's a few examples of what they're parading out specifically for everyone to see. So she is front and center, standing right, next to Dad. She is, a couple other shots. There's another shot where she's posing with the different people, and it looks like it's official type photos.
Okay. I don't think that's an actress. She looks like Dad. Let's see here. So did you put the one them walking in front of the missile? Because it's kind of funny. It's not funny, but it is funny. Can you get the picture of the missile? This is just almost as
give me a
bad.
minute.
But you got to see this photo we're talking about. This same missile was like stood up, and they're walking hand in hand, just like you would envision on like a inspiration poster that says like, teamwork or something. People walking on the beach, or like a medicine commercial of an old couple walking on the beach, looking at each other. It was like that, only the backdrop wasn't a beach. It was an intercontinental ballistic missile. It's flippin' weird. Also, just a little thing, and I don't know what this symbol is. Maybe Joseph Newhouse could look into obviously it's a North Korean symbol, but it has kind of like the 3 moons and a star, and how it's actually designed. I wonder what that comes from. The more lately, especially recently, I would inspire anybody to really dig deep onto what all of these different symbols means. I mean, the white and black checkered on both Vlad's and on his missiles, like even white and black checkered board like that has a meaning. People that don't believe in symbolism don't realize like even how the Germans thought back in the day. Their symbols and things like that actually meant something, even in their ranks and how they did things. Those symbols and everything else were part of a communication. It was part of all sorts of things. It was part of propaganda. It was part of everything. Dex, go ahead. And U.S. has them too. Every country does. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say the pictures in screener, if you want to pull it up. It's at the top of the other pictures.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So let's see here. Fix that. Got some feedback there. Okay, so check this out. Yeah, this is just... I mean, was I lying? Like, it's like, I want to Photoshop like a beach there, like, and then a missile in the background. It's just so, we're in a Black Mirror world. Does this not remind you of like a Black Mirror episode? Imagine what it's like there. When you have a 9 or 10-year-old looking at a missile that could, take millions of lives, and you're walking like, oh, check out what Daddy does. This is just freaking weird. And then 14 years on, NATO to renew a vow to UKR. So, Dex, so it says that NATO returns on Tuesday to the scene of one of its most controversial decisions, intent on repeating its vow to UKR. Now suffering through 10 months of conflict against Russia, will join the world's biggest military alliance one day. So they've talked about UKR joining NATO. Obviously, it hasn't happened. It's there's been all these weird, obviously I think there's a reason why they're not in NATO. What do they mean by renewing their vow?
Well, I think they fundamentally are wanting to say, hey, we welcome you into NATO, but not right this second. Is sort of the way I sort of read it. Is they've said it from the beginning. They're like, yeah, we'd like you to come into NATO, but we got to go through the process, or you got to go through the motions, or we got to go through this. I mean, imagine if UKR joined NATO today. The minute they signed the papers, then Article 5 would step in with every nation having to go against Vlad. So they're, by allowing them in in the middle of a conflict, they are in turn creating and signing the papers for a full-fledged conflict with Russia. So I don't think that that's, I think what they're trying to say is, hey, we want to support you, we want you to be part of us, but I don't think they're coming right out and saying we want you to join right this minute. Timing's a little off. Can you just wait till things calm down and you can join?
So this could mean one of many things, but it also could mean that they know this is all going to calm back down, and then UKR joins because maybe they've worked something out in the background. Something has been restructured during this whole conflict time. The money that they needed to filter through to the right people has filtered through, and now they're done with the whole charade. Or this very well could be where they're saying, this is a statement that's going to piss off Vlad. Vlad's main thing is that he didn't want UKR or anybody, including Finland or others, to join NATO. NATO has now surrounded Russia. And that's, it would kind of be like if Russia and China had an alliance and they were posted up with, military and missiles right in Mexico and Canada. It wouldn't be something we would allow. So I think that Vlad is definitely going to fight this, and this tells Vlad, we are going to bring them into NATO one day, just, after we settle this or fix this up, right? Well, what if it's not fixed? What if we don't even know what's going on with Vlad? They said, he's out of missiles and all of this. I think it's all based on BS. I think that that's Ganda. I think that they have gone so many years building missiles, building all this. They have continually built and built and built and spent half their GDP on it. I don't see how 10 months they're out of everything. If they were out of everything, even not using their nuclear weapons, then all of UKR would be churned into dust. They have made enough weapons to take on the US and others at the same time. Why would they not have enough left? I think that that's part of the thing to get people to believe that we're winning, so people still support it. If they told us that we were, in turn, by us supporting this place, that everybody's trying to push up and make it look heroic in this underdog story, if they made us think that they were losing horribly, they've lost 5 times the amount of people than Vlad does, then nobody would support it. People would be protesting it en masse in Washington, D.C., saying, stop the death, stop the conflict. But they've made it sound like they keep people, they narrate it to where most people are like, it's not a big deal. Meanwhile, all of the stuff that they have attained from Russia has been old tanks, old weapons, conscripts, people dragged off the street after 3 months of battle. It doesn't make sense. There's a piece of the puzzle that just doesn't make any logical sense. Why are they finding 1912 rifles on conscripts that just got pulled off the street, 55 years old, and putting them on the front lines? It's like they're throwing the garbage away. In their eyes, they're putting, the worst stuff on the front line and using up everything they can before they use their real military. And all of the other signs point to a bigger conflict with both China and Russia involved. And this is what I still think, regardless of how mainstream media every other week is swaying people to believe something else. And they'll even put out stuff that goes through independent media, where independent media will change your mind. I still think we're looking at World War III, and it's not to scare people, it's to tell people my real thoughts on it. By the way, thank you, everybody that has been patient through the show. Thank you, Heath Spear. Thank you, Ilea. Thank you, all the mods down there. Lisa R. Hall, if you guys haven't checked out her channel, she's awesome. Make sure to also go and check out marfooglenews.com/friends. Heath, thank you for your support tonight. I appreciate that. From Australia. Thank you. Thank you for any support at all tonight. Thank you. And then over on DLive, thank you. Kimbria, thank you, Skyhouse, Big Fish, Johnson, thank you for gifting out a badge to Comet Moon. Comet Moon, thanks for being here. Joe's California, thank you so much for following. And Chance and Jammer, thank you for modding over there. T308, thank you for getting your Marfia badge. I appreciate that. Renegade Petey. And everyone else that is over on DLive right now, thank you, and thank you. What do you think about them? What do you think about them saying that they're going to let them join? Let me know in the comments down below. And then widow of Russian colonel who shot himself with 5 bullets writes letter to Vlad. So first of all, most people, when they take their own life, it only takes 1. But apparently, it took him 5. It says, Yulia, the widow, the deputy head of the Pacific Higher Naval School, one of the Russian Navy's 2 higher educational institutions, Vadim Boyko, wrote an open letter to Russian dictator Vladimir Putin, in which she says that her husband committed self-execution after being accused of failing Putin's conscription measures. It says the woman asked Vlad to oversee the investigation into his perishing, who, according to media, reported that he committed at his workplace, that he took his own life. And it says in her letter, Julia said that on the 16th of September, a conscription point was deployed at the school where her husband worked. Russian Colonel Vadim Boyko was appointed responsible for the registration, accommodation, and control of the conscripts. According to her, since he had hardly spent nights at home, tried to solve the problems that arose, but did not find support from leadership at some point. He realized that he was being made a scapegoat for all of the failures and shortcomings. Then her husband had been sent to training ground in village of Zaporizhzhia, and where he was to be responsible for the repair of military equipment to be sent to UKR for the combat zone, as well as the training of conscripts. All those people they just threw in there. It says Yulia said that her husband faced difficulties because it is impossible to perform combat missions with such equipment. And it says, according to the woman, her husband had insomnia for about a month. During that time, he had lost 15 kilograms of weight. And on 14th of November, Representatives Commission said, according to her, Commodore Zarevilev, the head of the military school, showed the skill of disguise and went on sick leave, and her husband was informed that he will face criminal liability. The inspectors have openly informed Colonel Boyko that he will be charged with over 100 million rubles of debts for the loss of damage of state of property and will be brought in on criminal liability with confiscation of property. The body of her husband was found on the morning of the 16th of November, and according to the woman, her husband came from the training ground to the building of the naval school in the city of Vladivostok and went to his office as the superior. By the way, I skipped through this the first time. They write it and they keep it going for so long. Yes, he enters his superior's office and not on his own, as all the media writes, sits in his chair and fires 5 bullets using a service weapon, but does not aim at his head. Does not aim to end it all as soon as possible. So they're saying that he took his own life, but yet he basically took 5 bullets in the chest, like he was, committing seppuku or something. What is it, seppuku? Whatever the Japanese do, and they're, take their life, right? I don't think so. It looks pretty shady, if you ask me. Sounds like he was sitting in his chair and somebody walked up and went pop, 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 pop. But what do you guys think, Dex? Do you think that he held the thing, and who does themselves like that? Or was he trying to, I don't know. It doesn't sound like he took his own life.
It's odd. I mean, just imagine if this was happening in the States and this was covered by the media here in the States and this event had gone on. It'd be really strange. Now, there's 2 sides to it. The wife is saying he did it to himself, but he did it as a means of trying to get attention for the cause, so to speak. That's why he didn't just do it quickly. He drew it out. Versus the other side is to say it doesn't even make sense that that's the case. Like something else happened, which very, very well could be the case. I guess we'll never know, but this is the kind of stuff that goes on. It was a very interesting story. I know it's kind of a little hard to read just because of the translation. Obviously, these people aren't speaking in English. They're trying to translate it and put it into an article from her letter and from her the way she speaks. So, but this is, I guess they're telling us, I don't think this is much of a Ganda piece as much as it's just, and maybe it is a little. I mean, I shouldn't say it's not. The fact that it's being surfaced and circulated is one piece of that entire picture. But, this is a widowed woman who is reaching out to her leadership and asking for them to do something more, whatever the case may be here.
Yeah, why would this letter get out to the public? I guess that Russia wanted people to know that the wife thought that he was doing it to be a hero or to have some sort of honorable death. I don't know. And then vast UKR nuclear power plant remains under Russian control, Russia-installed authorities. It says the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in southern UKR remains under Russian control. Authorities installed by Moscow in the nearby city of Enerhodor said on Monday after a UKR official suggested Russian forces were preparing to leave. The media are actively spreading news that Russia is allegedly planning to withdraw from Enerhodor and leave the plant. This information is not true. The Russia-installed administration wrote on Telegram messaging app. It says that the head of UKR's state-run energy company said on Sunday that there were signs that Russian forces might be preparing to vacate the vast Zaporizhzhia plant, which they seized in March, soon after invading UKR. Remember, that was the one, Zaporizhzhia, which of course the one that most have talked about. There was a water bridge that they made before they ever invaded. We talked about how they set up that water bridge to the Zaporizhzhia area. And that was one of the first places that was taken. UKR, which has suffered the world's worst nuclear accident in Chernobyl in 1986, and Russia have accused each other of shelling the site of the Zaporizhzhia reactor complex. Both sides have warned the danger of a nuclear catastrophe. The UN nuclear watchdog, the IAEA, wants to create a protection zone around the nuclear power station, which is Europe's largest. So it's bigger than Chernobyl by far. I think it's like 6 times the size. It's gigantic. UKR presidential advisor Mikhailo Podolyak said late on Sunday that he had no doubt that Russian forces would leave the plant where UKR staff are still operating. Many of these workers live in Enerhodor. The defense line is starting to retreat to the borders of the Russian Federation. They said, it says, and then adding that UKR would take the plant back. So something is going on here, and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. It may be, like I said earlier, Dex, doesn't it seem like something went on behind the closed doors or something? Why is NATO now speaking out and saying, oh, no, we'll let you join, but wait until it calms down? They retreated from this. They retreated from that. Now they're saying that they're going to possibly retreat from Zaporizhzhia, which is a strategic point.
Well, let's rewind to Kherson. So when that happened, we reported about 2 weeks before that they were telling people to evacuate. They were warning others that were there, hey, if you want to get out, you should get out now, especially if you want to be on Vlad's side. Now is the time to get across the border. And it took about 2 weeks before they actually left. This could be the early signs. We get a little bit of information that tells us that there's a shift happening. And that's what this is. And right now, of course, Vlad is saying, no, we're not pulling out of this area. But then UKRs are saying, yeah, it looks like they are, So I guess time will tell. I'd say give it a week or two, maybe even as quickly as a week. We may hear that this has shifted. And if this shifts, that's yet another major shift in territory that Vlad has taken, because they've had Zaporizhzhia for quite a while now. Even though UKR people have been working it, they've been under their control. They've had it for quite a long time now, as far as the percentage of this time that's been in conflict. And it would be another setback, I think, for Vlad if he does pull out of here. So even if they don't pull out, even if they're getting pushed out, I think this also will create a opportunity for pushback on Vlad's part. If he's going to, push hard, this may be one of those locations that he does, and we could see this escalate to heavier conflict in this zone. And we also have to be careful about it, because this is also the nuclear power plant, right? I mean, it's right in the middle of it. So the last thing you want is all sorts of, munitions and stuff going off around it, which they've already had.
And we don't know how much of that is Ganda, how much is that it's truth. They show, pictures and videos. Pictures and videos can be fake now. And, anybody in the Western media, nobody really knows exactly what is happening on the ground. And the reason why, oh, well, they have people there on the ground. Do you remember in the beginning of this, they wouldn't let media go with? Not much of that has changed. There's media that they say is in different parts, but they're, it's only specific media companies are allowed in, and they put them in very specific spots. They couldn't even, when they first started this, super weird, they told media that they couldn't ride along with, or they couldn't, what was that called, that word when media joins a war? What is that called? I feel like there's a word for it. They wouldn't let them escort the in the very beginning. And then they banned all Russian media. They banned RT. They did all of these different things, which, by the way, speaking of RT and like Twitter and all that, I wonder if they're, I wonder if other people from RT that were banned 6, 7, 8 months ago, some of the main people that got kicked off when all that went down, I wonder if Elon lets them back on. It'd be pretty wild. And then more than 100 people are stranded on large ice chunk that broke free on Minnesota Lake. It says more than 100 people rescued after being stranded on a huge chunk of ice that broke free on the Minnesota Lake while they were fishing. It says the Beltrami County Sheriff's Office said police and other first responders evacuated the group from Upper Red Lake on Monday morning. Most of them had been fishing when the large ice chunk broke off. A statement from the sheriff's office posted during the rescue said, if you are on the ice and need to evacuate, head towards JR's Corner. There's a temporary ice bridge to get across the open water. Northwoods Fish House LLC, a company which works at the lake, estimated around 200 people were on the ice chunk after it broke off. A staff member posted a video to Facebook Live, which guessed there was about 60 feet of water between the ice chunk and the main ice sheet. He said that by 3:20 p.m., everyone was off the lake. So it's something that looks kind of like this, and on a huge ice chunk, it breaks free, and these people, you can't get in the water because I'm assuming it's so cold you'll die almost instantly. So they ended up having to make some sort of, this is a huge ice chunk, by the way. I wonder how big this is. It looks like it goes on for miles. But yeah, they said to head towards a certain corner and then they would put up a bridge. That would suck. And then China protests. Years of anger at Xi's zero CV policy boils over. It said that they are going through a CV revolution. 3 years of growing anger over Beijing's obsession with failing lockdowns is exploding across the country, but Xi will crack down and punish protesters severely. Barely a month ago, Xi Jinping assumed an historic third term as China's leader with hardly a whisper of protest. A banner draped on Beijing overpass was the only sign of dissent against his rule, with its owner swiftly tracked down and punished. Few guessed it then, but that banner calling for an end to the draconian zero CV policies and the removal of Xi as leader was a warning of what was to come. An explosion of anger as 3 years of failing lockdowns became too much to bear. Demonstrations against Xi and his oppressive CV crackdowns of increasingly authoritarian rule are now sweeping the country, with activists taking the streets in Beijing, Shanghai, Wuhan, and Nanjing with an unprecedented wave of dissent. It says Xi has yet to even acknowledge the marches, but few expect him to back down. Dr. Alan Mendoza warned Mail Online that Beijing will crack down hard and punish the protesters severely, as state media today ran editorials defending zero CV. So, mind you, there is a ton of different videos popping up everywhere, but I always think back to the beginning of CV when all of those videos surfaced of people in doorways covered up in bags and all sorts of other things, and everybody, of course, got scared and afraid of those, and then all of those were ended up, a lot of them were made up or photoshopped or something else. I just wonder, is this the truth? Is anything the truth anymore? But there are a ton of videos of people protesting, and it does seem reasonable that people would. The kind of rule that they have been under for now 3 years is insanity. They still have barbed wire in some areas, basically trapping people in their house. They can't go out. They have to have a code green to go shopping. They can't go into buildings without having a code green. And the way that they've been told is it's protecting them. They did a heavy scare tactic thing with a lot of people that were there, and that's coming from people, U.S. citizens that lived there and have now escaped and moved out, even some streamers. They said that they would line people up against walls. And in the very beginning, it was incredibly horrifying, because if they took your temperature and you were positive, you basically got taken away by a team of people in suits like straight out of a movie. Says Dr. Mendoza, director of the Henry Jackson Society, said, "This is a serious concern for Xi, given he has just set himself up as the dictator for life and would not have been expecting such open dissent. However, it is not existential, as his surveillance and enforcement state will inevitably crack down hard and punish the protesters severely. China was able to decimate Hong Kong from afar, so there is no possibility of this movement catching fire on domestic soil." Well, they say so, but maybe, I don't know. They far outnumber their rulers there. I mean, 1.4 billion people. That is a lot of people. And I guarantee you there's not, their military is 2 million. Think about that. That's insane. I'm sure that, that doesn't even include police and all of that. But you're talking about, they far, far, far outnumber their rulers. So if something was to go down there, we would see some sort of crazy revolution. It would affect the entire world, especially with what's been going on. I think, though, China is getting prepared for a war, and that's why they've shut everything down. It doesn't seem, or whatever happened in 2019 has a greater purpose long term. We are seeing a lot of weird things that have come from that, including even future population affected by anybody who's, got the stuff. Anybody that got the stuff. If you don't know about that factoid, make sure to go over to my Twitter and look at the Timcast tweet that I ended up retweeting yesterday, I believe. Pretty crazy stuff. And it might be an explanation for the sperm count and how basically huge drops in sperm counts in men, which means also a huge drop in population if it keeps going. And then China reportedly floods Twitter with urine to block news of widespread CV protests. Dex, so they actually, and I actually saw some of this morning, and I didn't realize what was going on. I went to a CV post that was kind of flared off from one of Timcast posts, I think, or Peterson or something. And there was all this stuff that started popping up. So they definitely have their 1 million man army working on this. Did you see any of that? Because it was pretty much everywhere this morning.
Yeah, that's exactly the case. So they've got a 1 million person social army that is online, that is capable of creating content, or in this case, spamming and creating a distraction. So what they've done is they've gone in on all of the major posts of anybody of significance, on all of the major city names, on all the major searches that are being done, and they're just lining tweets in there with inappropriate information so that it causes a distraction and keeps people from actually seeing results that they want. Of course, Twitter has to fight this, and they are, and some of the information they're talking about is what they've done and what they're seeing, but they're saying it's literally a real-time event. Like, they're coming in real time, in mass, and creating all of this content using, fake accounts, if you want to call it that, however you want to describe it. I mean, they described one account as being from 2015, but it made, 2,000 plus posts, and all of those had come within the last 15 hours. So it's not like that account was being used since 2015. It was obviously a pre-created account that was sitting and hiding. So, this is conflict, information conflict on a real-time scale. Like, this is what big countries do to shut down information when it's trying to get out, and how they can try to keep people from getting access to the real information. So if they can't turn it off completely, then they flood it out with other stuff.
I also saw one tweet had about 15 different random names. Some of them were new. Some of them had, like you said, started in 2015, and they all said, "Oh, this is Photoshop. This is fake. This is that." They responded to it, and on top of that, there were people that were flooding with adult images and all sorts of other crap. So I did see it. I don't. Again, they could be lying about who's doing it. Maybe somebody else doesn't want us to see that there's huge protests there, but I would believe any kind of huge amount of people would be trying to push back against a government like that. Wouldn't you? It just seems like if that kind of stuff was happening here, I guess we have a couple hundred more years of us being ingrained that we're, free and all of this, and we would push back harder if they did the stuff they do there. But at the same time, now, incrementally, they're taking little things away. And as long as they take it just a little bit at a time, it's like people are okay with it. People have already adapted that they're watching us, they're tracking us. And now in just the last couple of years since CV, they're tracking your money, they're tracking your bank accounts, they're tracking your withdrawals, they're tracking everything else. And it was all for for our good. It's just for the good of the economy and for us to survive, right? It's getting really bad. Let's see. Let's go over the chat. Thank you, everybody, tonight. I know that tonight has been just a mess, so I appreciate it. There's over 2,500 still here, and I thank you so much. Looks like we have Lord Andrew. We have Dillard's. Gold Eddie 23. Thank you. Paul Stasny. Shogun. Hit the like twice. Thank you. Tonight, nights like this are really rough. Thank you so much. Bug Nana Optimus. Thank you. Francine Holmes, thank you. I appreciate that. So speak it at him. Awake and Aware, happy you're feeling better. Yes, Awake and Aware was another one. Folks were worried about you. What I really like is when we see that people, when we see the Foogle fam, when you guys actually ask when, say, a regular is not here, it's really pretty and amazing. It's an amazing family. We have also kind of split off into a million other little amazing families from the other channels that we have helped. And I really do appreciate everybody that makes it every night. Bug Nana, CB3, thank you, Captain Scotty. Paul, again, thank you. Shelley Walker, Jordan Brock, Brian McCann, thank you. That would be helpful. Twisted Luck Truth, what's going on, man? Very, very cool stuff going on. And by the way, I want to point out too, Wages, I don't know if you're here, but Wages is going to help us, and he's going to put together and take responsibility for, if you are a creator, I'm going to reach out to the creators. I know Wages is going to reach out to the creators. He knows if you want to do a piece for Christmas and do kind of a 30-second video of just saying Happy Holidays and Merry Christmas in a small message, please get a hold of us. Get a hold of either myself, adam@marfooglenews.com, dex@marfooglenews.com, or get a hold of Wages. We'll make sure to put his information there. We're going to put a video together before Christmas. And again, Wages volunteered to do that. So, and again, we've done it a few times, and it was always fun. We had, I think the biggest one we had was like 13 creators. I would love to get 30, 40, 50, 60, and it would be really cool. And Wages has been not only brought it up this year, but he is also going to put that together. So make sure to thank Wages as well. Make sure to check out the Lifeboat. Him and his friend also run a channel that focuses on addiction. I know that out of just the sheer numbers of people here, there's people that are dealing with that right now. It's a great channel. They're very chill. They have a great community. Joseph Newhouse, Michigan Lifestyle, Rip Curl Readiness is here. Hey, what's going on, Rip? Nice to see you here tonight. Tamara S., it's very nice to see you here tonight, and thank you. Comet Moon, Mirror 504, and I'm Crazy Brumfield. Marlon Rando, love it. Thank you. And then, warning from U.S. Embassy in China signals lockdowns are likely to intensify amid protests. So Dex, they're actually going to double down, and this is not actually good for anybody because all of the stuff that comes from there. Do you want to go over what is actually happening with this and why?
Yes. So it's made it to the embassy. It's made it to the U.S. side, and they're basically warning everyone there: hey, keep a 14-day supply of medication, bottled water, and food for yourself and any members of your household. Quote unquote. That's exactly what the U.S. embassy is telling people. That's a pretty strong warning. That's a big that 2 weeks of supply is not necessarily what most of us do that, like we do that, but not everybody does that. Like most people shop a few days at a time or a week at a time at best. So they're making sure that you've got everything. They want you to have everything because they expect that this is going to grow. They expect it to be bigger than it is now. I don't know how much of that is coming from the CV itself versus the protests. Obviously, they both could be reasons why you'll see these types of events and these stricter restrictions on people's freedoms there. Both of those are good reasons why they could restrict that. So they obviously use the CV as the main excuse, but I could easily see it being other things. So we'll watch. We're going to keep monitoring it. Obviously, we talked about this a week and a half ago when it was a little flub up here and there. We talked about it, a few weeks ago when it was just a banner hanging across a bridge. We're like, yeah, nobody ever really protests over there because they're going to get in trouble. Well, now they are, and they're probably going to get in trouble, but they seem to be doing it at a much larger scale. And if this grows, it could be really eventful. That's for sure.
And so, again, this is kind of freaky. The U.S. Embassy in China released a statement calling on its citizens in the country to keep a 14-day supply of medications, bottled water, and food for yourselves and the members. It says the People's Republic of China authorities have expanded CV prevention restrictions and control measures as outbreaks occur. These measures may include residential quarantines, mass testing, closures, transportation, lockdowns, and possible family separation. That's the kind of stuff that goes on. Remember when it really got hot here and people were worried? It was like, if they find out your kids have it, they take your kids, or they take the father out of the house because they have it. They were telling people that, were in their own family, saying that the dad stays at a hotel. Australia was doing crazy stuff. I mean, this is wild. But it is another thing too. There could be something just a little bit right under the sheets there, that it's the U.S. is telling U.S. citizens to have extra prep in China. I don't know. Could be something else there too. So keep your head on a swivel. And then President Xi will be ousted in coup, opinion piece, as he faces CV revolution bigger than Tiananmen uprising, warns ex-diplomat. So this ex-diplomat is basically saying that this is pushing people over the edge, and they're about to have some major stuff go down. One thing I think about too is, Dex, what is one thing that gets everybody either united or afraid in a country if they're about to lose everything, or if something's about to go down? When do people really kind of get into unity mode? Do you know what I'm thinking?
Well, yeah, when you have mass events that affect large numbers of people, and those types of events happen, and when they do happen, they tend to rally. An example of one recently there was one of the buildings caught on fire, and like 10 people perished in it, and they blamed it on the CV restrictions because of the building and the way everything went down. So yeah, those types of emotional events that happen when there's loss of life, things like that at a scale, is when you get people enraged.
Exactly. And events, and also if they declared something, if they went to war, if they ended up, doing something big. So I hope that is not the case. Many of my peers and many of the Fugel family here, you guys, that's the thing. When somebody watches my show that's not familiar with our show, I understand how people think that all of this kind of talk is fear-mongering. But in our community, this is what we're looking at. We've seen it for years. We've seen it steps ahead before it happens. And once you've seen like 4 or 5 of your like common sense things, you're like, this is common sense. This is going to happen next. And then it happens, and you see another common sense like this is going to happen, and then people are pushing back on that. It's kind of at that point you're like, I'm going to believe my, my sense on this rather than your visual, I'm looking at reality and it's not happening. You have to look at the bigger picture to see this. That's why many of you, when you talk to your friends and family, they think you're crazy. They think you're nuts. I don't think you're crazy. Again, the whole main thing of this is that we need to listen to people's bad feelings. We need to look at the outer picture of all the little stuff that is going on, all of the tiny things. It's the writing is on the wall. That means something. It's real. And the writing has been on the wall for a very long time. We are overdue for a massive conflict to reset everything as part of this huge thing. And look at what China is doing. Look at the big companies, the very rich elite. They're okay with somebody else ruling the U.S. They're okay with somebody else doing it because they're going to be at the table. Thank you, everybody. You guys have rallied and almost got us to 1,000 likes. I appreciate that. Looks like we're at 930, then 956. And I don't know what it's at now, but thank you guys. I do appreciate it. It's so crazy when anybody asks me to like a video, I always forget to. It's the easiest thing to do to help a channel in the algorithm. And that's why, when channels ask me to press like, it's like, well, you should just like it. But nobody actually remembers to push a like button because it's a stupid like button. So thank you guys. I do appreciate that. Thank you for those. And if you are loyal and you come every night, it would be appreciated. Even if we had like 2,000 likes every single show, maybe it would help us in the algorithm. I don't know. But maybe you guys can help us test that. If that was a habit, I'm sure that would be really cool. And we got to 1,000 likes. Get it to 2,000. There's 2.5 thousand people watching. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. President Xi, of course, all of this stuff that's happening, we'll watch it and we'll update you and we'll make sure to keep all of this at the forefront. And along with everything that's going on with Vlad and Xi and Kim and the crypto stuff that is happening right now, we're going to be updating on that. Very, very soon, we're going to be doing some really cool projects. I already got some video on Saturday. I'm going to possibly do some stuff and even be asking some of you to ask permission for your video, because I was going to use a couple clips from one of another fellow creator's video, possibly Twisted Luck Truth. So Twisted Luck Truth, if you can message me on Twitter, that would be appreciated. And he's got a great channel. He's an up and coming channel just like mine, and he's doing a great job. There's lots of great friends of Marfoogle over there. Also, if you haven't already, make sure to go over and check out marfooglenews.com/EMP. This is a great way to protect yourself against an electromagnetic pulse event or, again, an electromagnetic pulse attack. An EMP is something that would basically knock our grid out, and it would be bad news. They say if it did happen, and it happened now, it could knock out the entire grid of the U.S., and of course this can happen anywhere, but it would possibly take anywhere from 12 months to 2 years to fix. Most estimates are 12 months to 18 months to fix it. There is a thing that you can do, and that is to put an EMP shield on it. EMP Shield is the same company that has worked with agencies like DOD, DHS, and of course the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. They are actually calling up people like EMP Shield to protect themselves, and of course they're not going to protect us. Any civilian needs to be basically looking out for themselves. As we know with disasters like Hurricane Katrina, when bad things happened, they left their posts and they saved their own families first. So just remember that. You can protect your cars if you live far from home, or if your bug out area is far away from where you are, then you definitely want to have one of these on your car. The car is the easiest model to put in. That takes anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, and anybody can do it. It's very simple. You could literally watch a YouTube video and do it in 10 minutes. That is at marfooglenews.com/EMP. Then it will ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your car. Also, they make one for your generators. They make one for the Flex 1500. In fact, the Flex 1500 is the only solar generator that can be protected by an EMP shield, and it can protect you against a CME, a coronal mass ejection. So when we do have our next coronal mass ejection that hits us, a Carrington level event, that will protect your stuff. for that level of amps. So again, marfooglenews.com/EMP. There is, of course, all sorts of sales going on right now. You always get $50 off when you use our code, and you're helping our channel at the same time. Dex, do you want to go over the web only? We have lots of crazy stuff going on. And
oh, yeah, we do. There's plenty. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up the description on YouTube or on Rumble and click on that show notes link. It'll take you right here. Scroll down past all the news we just covered and get to the overflow section, and you'll get the rest of the story. Lots going on. Hey, did you know that the costs that are being paid for the food stamps are soaring in places like California? If you want to know what's happening there, I think it's over doubled in there. Apparently, WAPO, or Washington Post, is trying to tell people they need to be eating bugs if they can't find traditional food. That's kind of crazy. Some additional updates on what's happening over there in Xi's country with the zero policies. We've got a few more stories that are there. A little bit of an update on the one person's opinion on the economy and the bubble that exists. That's kind of interesting. Definitely worth looking into. Updates on the Fent conversation that we've had here a few times, specifically in LA. Some pretty graphic images that just really paints a horrible picture of that problem that is plaguing America, and it's coming from Xi's country. Of course, we got all the updates around the T-Man saga and what's happening there with our former president, and all the other shenanigans that are going along with, and we'll even probably have an update in the next few days about one of the runoffs that's happening as well. Updates on the World Cup, that's going on. Some lawsuits with a big billionaire who's got some, EpiPen backed charges against him in cohorts with that, as well as some other information or updates coming out of, again, California of all places, on who they're releasing back out into the public, and much more. So that's not everything, but that's most of it. So go over there. We put this together for you every night. We get the rest of the story. We get all the other news that we can't cover on the show, and we put it there on the website. It's real easy to get to. If you're looking for more, you want the rest of the story, go to marfooglenews.com or open up that description on YouTube or Rumble and click on the show notes link. It's right there.
Lots of really horrible things. People getting less than a year for adult and child-related things, like sick things. Great stuff over there. Thank you also, Trinity Red or Blue Pill. Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here. I said it right. Thank you. Says you're awesome, and everyone please hit that thumbs up. Thank you, everybody that rallied just now and got us to 1,000 likes. I know I always thought it was super corny when people talked about those likes. Now more than ever, comment down below. If you're watching the replay, if you're one of my loyal coffee drinkers in the morning watching the replay, thank you so much, and God bless you. I really do appreciate it. We wouldn't be able to do anything without you guys staying and sticking around, watching every replay. I thank you guys. Thank you, and thank you. And then also, thank you, Kings of Erdon. Is that right? I've read half of it. Kings of Erdon. Checkerboard chess pieces belong to 666. And yeah, go watch iPad Goat 2 or whatever. Gosh, crazy stuff. Mystery School. I support my Marfoogle News and friends. Stay safe all. Thank you. LAPD SWAT says embedded. Thank you so much. And love you guys. Thank you, and thank you. Everybody over on DLive, everybody over on Rumble, thank you so much. We're simulcasting right now on multiple platforms. So thank you, everybody that showed up. Thank you, Rumble, for even placing us. Again, over there, it's a little bit different. Make sure to check us out on all platforms, and make sure to go to marfooglenews.com/friends. Tonight's team, we had several mods make it. And again, the mods team is a great, awesome group of creators as well. Been with me for a very long time. And again, great people. Right now, I did ask some of them to actually suggest some new fresh people to join. But right now we have Bones, CJ Blaze, Jammer1, Lisa Hall, PNW, Affliction, Rip Curl Readiness, RGL Harris, Ilea, and Trinity Red or Blue Pill Hi-Ho Kermit the Frog here. And I don't want to forget, of course, Jay Stone, beloved, doing other stuff right now. and has a lot of life going on. Alaska Prepper, all day, every day. Preparedness, RE55. Look at all these creators down here. Bitter Critter, Donut Factory is almost to that 100,000. Willing Witness, formerly Global Witness, is almost to 100,000 as well. Jacob Israel is almost to 200. Get these guys to their next milestone. It does help. And then official Ann Lynn show, cannot forget our official Marfoogle grandmas. They are the sweetest ladies you know and harder working than most channels, 50 times their size. Again, thank you guys and all love. Twisted Luck Truth and Wages World at the end, great channels. Check them out. All right, Dex, thank you for your service tonight. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.
Got you on a Monday night with all the news highlight. Bring it on back now, do it now, no fights. Everybody on positive up in here, going right back now, year to year.
Thank you, everybody that has made it tonight. Thank you, Wages World, for not only modding, got to add you up to the top list as well. Thank you, Trinity. Thank you, Heath Spear, top contributor tonight. Thank you, Heath.
Mr. say. FG, a guacaholic and carry ray. A Rockwell, Art, Marky, Spark K. Shogun, Daniel Becker. Maybe a checker. Checker in my Mecca. Bring it on to everybody getting the wet. Hey, I shake, rattle, and roll. I love to you all. And then the heat sphere. No fear, I got extra one and you're welcome. Yeah. Everybody else needs to chill and relax. Rob on the mills and Jago, that's me. Everybody gonna be like CB3. Eddie on the gold and the gold Eddie 23. A curve creeper, everybody gonna do the creep. Catching on to whatever this crap is. I'm over it, yeah, I am too. We've been sick for a month and a half straight. It's insane. Whatever's going around, and it's not the civ, it's horrible. I'm still stuffed. LOL, KT cleans a lot. Appreciate all of you, including Miss Buff. Hey, Chance Paladin and Extinguish Shippy. A small lie is being back around and now they're shipping. Like relationship and Marky on the Sparky. Hey, my blue sky and everybody double parking. Bonnie on the mullet and the guacaholic holly. I'm gonna bring you Merry Times Christmas Holly. You were one of the suggestions for one of future mod. Daniel